Hey everyone, and welcome back. Until Photoshop CS5, Photoshop has had an awesome automated script which would help users, especially photographers, make contact sheets of their photos. But for some reason, it vanished once Photoshop CS5 came around. Well, after a short absence, contact sheets are back in Photoshop CS6. Let's take a look at how you can create your own contact sheets in Photoshop. Unlike many tasks that you perform in Photoshop, creating a contact sheet doesn't really require much setup. Because it's an automated process, Photoshop does most of the heavy lifting for you. Under the File menu, you'll want to locate the Automate submenu, where you're going to find the Contact Sheet 2 feature, amongst many other automated features that Photoshop includes. The Contact Sheets window is pretty straightforward. The top section deals with your source images. By default, it's set to use a folder that contains the images you want to appear on your contact sheet. Pressing the Choose button will allow you to browse your computer for the folder you want to use. I'm going to choose this folder that contains a bunch of images from a trip to the zoo. When I choose the folder I want, I'm also given the option to include subfolders if there are any. As the folder didn't contain any subfolders, I'm going to leave it be. Now another option you have is to select specific files from different areas of your computer. Notice when I choose the Files option, I'm presented with an empty list. In order to fill this list, I must press the Browse button to the right, and then locate the files I want to include. Rather than selecting a whole folder, I can pick and choose individual images by holding my Command key on the Mac or Control key on Windows. The other advantage to this method is that you're not limited to one folder. Now that I've chosen images from the first folder, I can hop back into the file browser, navigate to the next folder, and choose a few more. This way, you don't have to worry about organizing your photos beforehand. You're free to pick and choose as you wish. The last option is Open Documents, which would come in handy if you've been actively editing your photos and they're still open in Photoshop. Now, a bit further down is the Document control. This will set up the document that the images will be laid out on. Usually, contact sheets are printed on a standard 8.5 by 11 inch paper, but you can enter any size that you require. Of course, there's also the option to change the resolution. As we discussed in the previous video, a higher resolution around 300 will give you very clear, sharp prints, while a lower resolution may result in pixelation. Because the images will not be full size, lowering the resolution to around 150 should be okay. You can also change the color mode, bit depth, and color profile if you or your printer find it necessary. Finally, the last option within the Document section is the option to flatten your layers. If this is checked on, once Photoshop completes the contact sheet, all layers will be flattened into one. This means that any text that's been added to the image cannot be edited. If you think you may want to edit the text later on or add some effects to the images, you may want to leave this unchecked. Now keep in mind that leaving this unchecked and leaving all the layers intact will definitely increase the file size of your document. The next section deals with the thumbnails of the images. The Place option controls whether the thumbnails are ordered across or down, and the Columns and Rows fields tells Photoshop how many images appear in each column and row. By default, Photoshop will automatically space each photo evenly based on the number of images per column and row. But if you want more control over the spacing, you can turn off Use Auto Spacing and enter your own values. And last, the Rotate for Best Fit option will rotate your thumbnails to better fit them on the page. However, if this option is checked on, you may end up with horizontal thumbnails which are supposed to be vertical. So if you want all thumbnails to be displayed correctly, leave this option off. Finally, last but not least is the caption. If checked on, the file name of the image will be displayed underneath each thumbnail using your font of choice. If you're not too concerned about the file name, you can safely leave this off. Alright, so now that we've gone through all the available options within Contact Sheet, let's press OK to start the process. You're going to notice that Photoshop is loading in each image, resizing it to fit the page, and placing the caption if you have that checked on. Depending on the size, the resolution, and the number of images that you chose, this process can take a few minutes to complete, so grab a coffee and relax. And that's it for the new Contact Sheet feature within Photoshop CS6, a very simple tool in Photoshop that can quickly create contact sheets for your images.